Hello, this is Joe Simhart, number 15 in my Cults in the Occulture series. The painting today is nullibiety. It means the property of being nowhere, which is something to do with the topic we're going to discuss today. And that topic is this book, A Course in Miracles. It was published around 1975. It was channeled by Helen Schuckman with the help of Bill Thetford, her boss, a medical professional, mental health professional at the hospital where they worked. And over a 7-year period, Helen shared something she called the voice, which was Jesus in her head, was telling her every night. And it basically spewed out this thing called A Course in Miracles, which is, according to the book itself, the voice said that it's a required course, that everyone is going to have to take it entirely or not at all. In other words, you believe it a little bit, you can't do that. You have to believe it totally. So, the Course says things like, I bless the world because I bless myself. I am the Holy Son of God himself. I am affected only by my thoughts. So it comes from New Thought. And essentially, New Thought is a new religious movement that was inspired by Phineas Parkhurst Quimby in the 19th century. Quimby was a character that studied mesmerism and began to use it. This book covers Quimby's Science of Happiness. It's a promotion of his work by Errol Stafford Colley. And in Quimby's words, Dr. Quimby's method of healing, he says, in a circular to the sick, he says, my practice is unlike all medical practice. I give no medicine and make no outward applications. I tell the patient his troubles and what he thinks is his disease, and my explanation is the cure. If I succeed in correcting his errors, I change the fluids of the system and establish the truth or health. The truth is the cure. And he frequently called his philosophy Science of Health and Happiness. And he wrote about that in 1863. One of his clients and students was Mary Baker Eddy, who began Christian Science based on the same principles. So New Thought influenced a wide variety of American religions. And it may be at the basis of what Harold Bloom calls the American religion, along with the kind of tent preachers that went around the country back in the Great Awakening. One of the tent preachers that came in a little bit later in 1895 is this guy, Francis Schlatter, called The Vanishing Messiah, and this study on him that was published in just a couple decades ago. Actually, it came out in 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016. But in here, the author tells us, David Wetzel, that on November 13th, 1895, a normally quiet and subdued neighborhood of Denver played host to a bustling scene as thousands of people from across the region patiently waited in line to be touched by a renowned healer. Every day for the past 2 months, Francis Schlatter, a former cobbler and Alsatian immigrant, had laid his hands on multitudes of people, performing astounding feats of healing by his very touch. By mid-November, his fame had spread across the country, and trainloads of the sick and injured poured into Denver, seeking a treatment or cure from this Christ-like figure. In fact, he claimed he was Christ, or the Christ, if not Jesus himself. So, who was he? Well, he was a con artist. In 1916, under a different name, Kunze, he established a mission in New York City, but U.S. postal inspectors raided his headquarters, arrested him on charges of mail fraud. Simultaneously, federal authorities arrested August Schrader, his colleague, in California. The two healers were accused of soliciting handkerchiefs in the mail, asking for donations, and promising that the handkerchiefs, once blessed, would cure the aches and ailments of their owners. So, the old handkerchief scam that was even being used by preachers more recently. But Schlatter had an influence on quite a few people. One of them is interesting here, Ada Morley, who was a New Thought advocate. And Ada was deep into New Thought. She studied a book by Henry Wood's Ideal Suggestion Through Mental Photography, expressed her religious belief until Schlatter arrived. It contained a series of meditations summed up in simple declarations. God is here, Christ is within, I am soul, I am not body, spirit is the only substance, and there is no death. So that's New Thought, in a way, right? So here she left all that, supposedly, for Schlatter the healer, the con artist. But in my mind, they're almost one and the same because both have powers of suggestion, whether it's coming out of the book, The Course in Miracles, or from a preacher that's laying hands on you and healing you. So the Course says some interesting things. I bless the world because I bless myself. I am the Holy Son of God himself. Let all things be exactly as they are. Let me not be your critic, Lord, today, and judge against you. Let me not attempt to interfere with your creation and distort it into sickly forms. So the idea is, like in lesson 338, I am affected only by my thoughts. So if you put on the mind of Christ, the perfect mind, you don't think about illness, you don't think about poverty. The universe, in some way, has to bring you what's real and what's true and healthy and perfect and eternal in that instant. The Course calls it the holy instant. And this is what practitioners of the Course strive for. Of course, New Thought has influenced a lot of other people and organizations. Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. Here's a picture of Og. Came out in 1968, and he writes in here in chapter 11 in a scroll that he channeled, right, in a way, or wrote inspiredly, I am nature's greatest miracle. And then he goes on to say, I am a unique creature of nature. I am rare, and there is value in all rarity. Therefore, I am valuable. I am the end product of thousands of years of evolution. Therefore, I am better equipped in both mind and body than all the emperors and wise men who preceded me. Bit of grandiosity, but that's New Thought. Think and grow rich. You can just use your mind and grow rich, or at least it's one of your assets, by Napoleon Hill. Again, New Thought was revived more recently in something called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. She appeared on Oprah Winfrey and every other show out there at the time. Another organization called the Foundation for Life Action, founded by Tara Singh, also uses A Course in Miracles as its basis, and here his book, The Future of Mankind. He is warning that we are in dire straits. This is kind of the end times, and we have to turn to things like A Course in Miracles in order to be saved. And A Course in Miracles more or less says the same thing, that this is why it came about. We are in dire times, and this is, of course, back around 1970 when it appeared. So, yeah, it has influence. Even President Trump, whose family was influenced by Norman Vincent Peale, another New Thought, positive thinking advocate, was involved with Trump's family quite a bit. On October 8th, 2020, the Deseret News reported the president has spoken fondly of Peale, saying at the Iowa Family Leadership Summit in 2015, I still remember Peale's sermons. You could listen to him all day long. And when you left the church, you were disappointed it was over. He was the greatest guy. Trump married his first wife, Ivana, at Marble Collegiate College, and Peale was the officiant, according to multiple reports. And although his second wedding to Marla Maples was held at the Plaza Hotel in 1993, the ceremony was performed by Peale's successor, the Reverend Arthur Caliandro, according to the wedding announcement in the New York Times. Trump also introduced Marianne Williamson, who's a great advocate of A Course in Miracles, and it's her basic document, to Marla back around the 1990s. So this course has quite an influence in many ways. You may have heard of it, may have not. I read it, I've analyzed it. You can read my paper. I'll list it on my description for this video. And yeah, read it with care if you decide to take it up. Thank you for listening.